What does the immediate and long-term future hold for Fréd Vasseur at Ferrari? As things stand at present, the outlook appears anything but stable, leaning more toward uncertainty and negativity than toward any form of optimism. However, despite the current tensions, there is still a possibility of a bittersweet twist or unexpected outcome in the end. Hopefully, this doesn't come across as a prophetic vision or fortune-telling. Whether you prefer to picture Nostradamus or some other eccentric figure is up to you. Regardless, one thing is beyond doubt. The level of confusion and internal instability currently surrounding Ferrari's headquarters in Maranello is quite significant. Let us begin by analyzing the core of the problem in detail. According to what has emerged from behind the scenes, Ferrari Executive Chairman John Elkann is far from satisfied with the progress and performance of the team during the current season. In particular, he is reportedly unhappy with the way the team has been managed and led by the current team principal, Frédéric Vasseur. To put it mildly, the criticism is aimed at a perceived lack of effective leadership and direction. It appears that the Frenchman has lost a significant portion of the trust that the Ferrari board and senior management had initially placed in him. And usually, in these types of situations, even if a professional relationship continues on paper, it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, for that lost confidence to be fully restored to its original level. It is important to recall that the signing of seven-time Formula One world champion Lewis Hamilton was not just a technical decision, but a strategic move that came directly from the top. The high-profile and extremely costly acquisition of Lewis Hamilton was strongly pushed for and personally endorsed by John Elkann himself, who has long held the British driver in the highest regard. John Elkann has immense respect for Lewis Hamilton's talent, professionalism, and winning mentality. However, seeing the Briton now forced to struggle at the wheel of the underperforming and problematic Ferrari SF25 single-seater car is far from what the Ferrari president had hoped or expected when the deal was signed. At the heart of this entire scenario lies Antonello Coletta, the man currently in charge of Ferrari's highly successful program in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Under Antonello Coletta's leadership, Ferrari has enjoyed a number of significant victories and achievements in endurance racing. Successes that stand in stark contrast to the painful defeats, inconsistency, and setbacks that the team has suffered in the Formula One paddock. However, being given the task of saving or completely turning around the fortunes of Ferrari's F1 team always comes with considerable risk. The transition from receiving praise and celebration to being the target of criticism or demands to leave can be extremely quick. Antonello Coletta, a lifelong Ferrari man whose long career at Maranello is well documented and filled with achievements, is well aware of this dynamic. He also knows that if he were to accept such a challenge, taking over the Formula One team at its lowest ebb, immediate victory would be unrealistic. Success would take time and the expectations would need to be properly managed. For this reason, what Ferrari truly needs is a new approach grounded in openness and transparency. A clear and honest communication strategy that has been sorely missing for far too long at the team's historic base in Maranello. What exactly would such transparency entail? It would involve clearly explaining to the fans and the media that Ferrari must undergo a complete reboot, a total reset of its Formula One project from the ground up. In our personal opinion, Ferrari's passionate and dedicated supporters would understand and appreciate such honesty. After all, these are the very same tifosi who were filled with hope and excitement during the winter, largely thanks to Frédéric Vasseur's optimistic public statements and confident tone. Today, those same fans are frustrated, angry, and disappointed after seeing yet another season filled with mediocre results and missed opportunities. And who can really blame them? If Antonello Coletta were to accept the bittersweet yet prestigious and high-pressure role of leading the Formula One team, then Fréd Vasseur would most likely see out his existing contract and then part ways with Ferrari at the natural end of the current agreement. Alternatively, the French manager could decide to return to his responsibilities and leadership role within Ferrari's WEC program, where he might enjoy greater autonomy and less pressure. In this scenario, as things currently stand and based on all available information, Ferrari does not appear to have a definitive Plan B. Although some discrete inquiries and early-stage evaluations have reportedly been made, there is no firm succession plan in place. One high-profile figure who has never seriously been considered is former Red Bull team principal Christian Horner. While Christian Horner is undoubtedly seen as a top-tier expert in team management and leadership within Formula One, his leadership style, often described as centralized and dominant, has been viewed as incompatible with Ferrari's internal culture and decision-making structure. Furthermore, the controversies and public scrutiny that have surrounded him in recent times only further complicated any consideration of his profile. It is worth noting that Ferrari had previously made several attempts to lure Christian Horner to Maranello. However, the British team principal, often nicknamed the Spice Boy due to his celebrity connections, politely declined each time, although he reportedly felt honored by Ferrari's interest in his services. As a result, Ferrari has now formally presented Frédéric Vasseur with a proposal for a one-year contract extension. Unsurprisingly, the offer has not been well received by the Frenchman. Fréd Vasseur would clearly prefer a longer deal, at least a 2-year contract, in order to continue leading the team with the stability he believes is necessary for long-term success. And so, the situation returns to a familiar state of gridlock and indecision. When a team offers only a single-year extension, the message is clear. It is a partial vote of no confidence. It signals hesitation and a desire to buy more time before making a long-term commitment. Fréd Vasseur is well aware of the implications behind such an offer. Many within the paddock believe, though this author does not entirely agree, that the Frenchman should be allowed to continue in his role without question. Their argument is that every team can experience a bad season, and this could simply be one of those cases. However, the advocates of managerial continuity at all costs often fail to consider how many times in recent years Ferrari has made serious errors and misjudgments, errors that have led to lost championships, broken momentum, and frustrated drivers. They also overlook the fact that the current version of the team, now fully shaped and organized according to Frédéric Vasseur's vision, has completely failed to deliver in the final season of the current technical regulation cycle. And as the sport prepares to enter an entirely new and still undefined era of regulations starting in 2026, the outlook remains highly uncertain and unstable. In light of these reflections, we would like to offer Fréd Vasseur a small piece of unsolicited advice, an informal suggestion to add to those already provided by more established voices in the motorsport world. The advice is simple. Fred, it is time to change your communication strategy, because the current approach is not working. Listening to Fréd Vasseur often feels like stepping into an alternate reality, as if he were living in a parallel universe similar to the Marvel multiverse. In his public statements, one could almost believe that Ferrari is consistently improving, constantly evolving, and still in the fight for the Formula One World Championship title. Adding to the confusion are the occasional public criticisms directed at the drivers, Charles and Lewis, even though Ferrari currently has what is widely considered the strongest and most talented driver pairing on the grid. This type of criticism should be reserved for rare situations, especially when the drivers are not being given a car capable of performing at the highest level. At the moment, they are forced to work with the flawed and enigmatic SF25, a car that has failed to meet expectations and remains surrounded by questions. Alongside the many technical and organizational problems currently facing Ferrari, there is now also the issue of a team principal who, so far, has not shown himself to be fully up to the task or worthy of the immense pressure and prestige that comes with leading the most iconic team in the history of Formula One. All eyes will now remain focused on Maranello as the situation continues to evolve and new developments unfold in the coming weeks and months.